Hello, everyone. Andrew here, along with my sister Kelly. Welcome to the monthly movie mini reviews for July 2021. The June installment, my debut installment, you all seem to be okay with. I thought I'd try something a little different, mix up the format a bit, and invite my sister on. And we're going to talk about all the movies that we watched throughout the month of July. And we'll see if this format is more satisfying to my viewers. We're just going to go back and forth. I watched significantly more movies in the month of July than my sister did. So I'm going to do two, and then she'll do one, and we'll go back and forth like that.
Yes.
All right. Of course, Kelly watched a lot more TV and played a lot more Animal Crossing throughout the month of July than I did. So
yeah, I have moved every location on my island, so many different places. I'm trying to find the best balance. It'll happen.
Okay, the first thing I watched in the month of July was Space Sweepers. Sweepers of Space. So Space Sweepers is one of those big, loud, colorful sci-fi movies, kind of like remember The Fifth Element?
Yeah,
it's on the scale of one of those. This is I think it's like South Korea's biggest, either their biggest movie or at least their biggest sci-fi epic.
Okay, so it's a foreign film.
Yes.
Because I was like, that might be the worst name I've heard in a while. So
it's not good, but it's probably it's probably not the original name.
That makes me feel
I don't know what the original name was or what it literally translates to, but the English name Space Sweepers, while not inaccurate, is kind of lame. And it's like Space Sweepers. Nah.
Yeah.
So in the future, tell me if you've heard this one, the Earth is pretty much unlivable. So pollution and stuff like that. It's really hard to live on the surface of the Earth. So really rich people built like a habitat in space orbiting around the Earth where you can live. And they live, decadent, happy lives, while the lower class stays on Earth earning very minimal wages, trying to fix up the place and trying not to die to death.
So it's like a live action WALL-E.
Yes, I mean we've all seen this. The what's lovely are all of the details. So our titular space sweepers are sweepers of space. They have their crew who run a spaceship, and they compete with other space sweepers to collect space debris so that they can sell it to a recycling plant and get money. But so it's shown as like this like episode 1 pod racing thing where they're zooming at each other and they're throwing harpoons at space debris and dragging it around and slamming it into each other. What I really love about this movie is the world building and the ship design. Everything is just really interesting looking and realized in a super fun way. The movie, however, suffers from some really bad editing, and it's a bit overstuffed. There's like way too much going on, and it is well over 2 hours if I remember.
Oh my!
But it does feature one of the best ticking clocks I've ever seen. Our main protagonist, his daughter was blown out into space in a space accident. So an asteroid hit the ship, a bunch of people were lost out into space. But she can be, because we all have trackers, she's just floating out into space somewhere. If he can, the government can mount a rescue mission to go get her using her tracker, but that costs money. But he's not rich. So he needs to raise money to fund her recovery before she drifts too far out of orbit and is lost forever into space. That's a pretty good ticking clock.
That's nightmarish.
I know.
Her? Oh God.
Yeah, well, she's unconscious, I'm thinking.
Thank God. Could you imagine being conscious floating? You're like, well, this is a shit way to go.
But the movie is so stuffed that that's kind of a background element that I completely forgot about for a long time. I'm like, oh yeah, daughter floating in space, got to go get her right. For example, the daddy in question is a child soldier who was conscripted into child soldiering, who killed a bunch of people, who turned out to have a daughter. So he adopted that daughter, who is the daughter that he lost out in space because he's miserable about being a child soldier, family murdering dipstick. And then he's like, oh, he's gambling and drinking. Here's money, go play. And she goes and plays in the area that gets hit by an asteroid. She's blown out into space. It's like, and that's just one of the characters on the ship. There are 4 other fully realized characters with their own backstory. There's the
how long is this movie?
Over 2 hours.
Okay.
There's the captain who used to be part of some other thing. Her whole crew was killed, and now she's she's still a badass, but she keeps herself at a distance. There's the robot who used to be a battle bot, but now isn't a battle bot and works on the space sweeper's ship. And he wants to afford enough money to get a human skin covering for his chassis. Then there's the other guy who used to be like a drug kingpin on the planet. It's like, oh my God. And all these characters are simultaneously archetypal and kind of one note, but all of the performers really bring them to life. They're like really compelling to watch, even though the characters are overwritten and shallow. So it's probably too long. There's a bit too much going on, but I really fell in love with the world building and the design of all the props and the costumes and the ships and the sets. Really fascinating stuff. And I love the fact that it's international because it's the entire planet that's dead. So the space sweepers, you have our main crew who are all Korean and speak Korean, or South Korean. But you also have, English, the main rich white dude who runs Elysium. It's Richard Armitage.
Oh.
So there's a lot of English, there's South Korean, there's a couple other languages, which gives it a real international feel, which is appropriate because it's all the people of Earth. So I thought that worked really well. The editing really sucks. I think really someone should have edited it. But yeah, long and overstuffed. But I thought it was a hoot. I enjoyed it.
Well, good. Space Sweeper. How do you find these films?
This one's on Netflix. I had actually heard of this one because it was really big in South Korea, and that's why Netflix picked it up.
Well, I know that Netflix also recommends things, but to be clear, the recommendations Netflix gives, it's like based on what you've watched, dude, like this. I'm always like,
Netflix keeps trying to advertise me by using weirdly cropped out of context screenshots from the show.
I hate that.
Like, for example, it's like, you want to watch Jupiter's Legacy. Here's a picture of some dude from the show. Yeah, I know. Show me the poster art, please.
Just show me the poster art. Yeah.
I don't know why it's just some person, some weirdly cropped.
Or a random scene, like just a.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thumbnail of a random scene. Yeah. I hate that. Okay.
So Space Sweepers. All right. One more from me.
Yep.
Hedwig and the Angry Inch. Why don't you tell us about Hedwig and the Angry Inch, and then I'll tell you what I thought about it.
It's so good. It's so good. So I saw it like long ago and far away.
I've known about this movie for a long. I watched this on the Criterion channel. I was browsing through. I'm like, I've always wanted to see that. My sister loves it.
I loved it. So I saw it long ago, and John Cameron Mitchell. I think he wrote and I know he started it, but I believe he wrote it as well.
Oh, did he? Okay.
And so he plays Hedwig.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course it went to Broadway, where Neil Patrick Harris won a Tony for playing Hedwig. But that's beyond the point.
That I didn't know either. Nice.
Yeah. So it's so very, very exciting show. The music, it is a musical, and it's basically Hedwig is a transgender female, she sings in a band, and the band is called the Angry Inch. And the reason behind the Angry Inch is because of the botched reassignment surgery that Hedwig undertook to finish the transformation into becoming a woman. And so it's kind of a little tongue-in-cheek, like, oh, I got this Angry Inch still here, which is not funny, but it just kind of goes, the movie is almost, it does have a through line, but a lot of it is like you're shown just vignettes of the life of Hedwig.
It's kind of a music biopic.
Yeah.
But
what made her go through
presented from Hedwig's point of view,
yeah,
through the Angry Inch's performances in local dive bars.
Yes. And so it's, and I think it's great, and it's so emotionally driven. Like the first time I saw it, I'm pretty sure I was just overwhelmed with, there was so much more than you can get in a first viewing, at least at the age that I was. I'm sure now, like my first viewing as the age I am now, and my first viewings of something 20 years ago are completely different, you know, as I'm sure they probably are for you. But I really enjoyed it, and I thought it was, Michael Pitt plays feuding rock star who's also misunderstood. And then the bassist, there's a bassist in the Angry Inch band who just wanted to be a rock star like Hedwig.
That's the dude with the headband, right?
Yeah, the female.
I love. Oh,
that's a girl.
Her? Oh, yeah. Well, my mistake. She is hilarious in the movie. Because oh man, is she funny? Also, I love her because she's got that countertenor going on. She does the real high harmony parts. It is really good. I enjoyed the movie. I don't think it would ever be one of my like go-to films, but I loved so much about it, from the music, the costumes. I love the drummer. Jesus, the drummer is funny. The drummer's outfits are great. The performances, the directing, the staging, the humor, the dialogue. I love all of the individual elements, and while they, to me, may not add up to, primo movie, that's a lot of stuff I liked. So I'm glad I gave it a watch.
But like you said,
genuinely entertaining and funny.
It lives in almost, it's not vignette-ish, but it almost lives in like little chunks.
I love some of the small details too that are never really commented upon. Like one of the band members has a kid who is just, I think, has a partner too, and you'll see them when they're not performing, they're just hanging out with each other and their kid. I'm like, it's not really even commented on. It's just, one of the band members has a family. It's just a thing. There's a lot of really, I love the Angry Inch's manager too. She's hilarious. she they get into a fight at a bar and she just goes in swinging. It's hilarious.
It's but the one with the headband, Yitza, or I'm a terrible pronunciator. I always forget their name, but it starts with a Y. But and then at the end she wears the big bouffant wig and she's like, I get to have my moment in the sun. It's very nice. The torch is passed. It's great.
Cool.
So it's a goodie. I recommend it, but I also, feel like it's really great music. I will say
I liked the music. It's nothing. It's not a soundtrack I would listen to on its own, but I did enjoy the music. Yes. You
can YouTube the Sugar Daddy performance from Neil Patrick Harris. It's incredible, and everyone should, because he wears the platform heels and he does so much jumping and twirling on stage that you're like, I just sprained my ankle last week because of walking like you do.
Hedwig, the character itself is very funny. So I'd be interested to see how Neil Patrick Harris performed it. I also love the fact that the villain, or at least the antagonist of the piece, is kind of set up as this, you know, um, really self-centered evil scumbag, and just turns out to just be kind of a pathetic loser.
He's just, yeah, he's not, yeah. I mean, he's just as lost as everybody is. And I think that, to me, I love that point, that he's just as confused as we all are, even if it's not in sexuality, even if it's not in, you know, your gender. It's just, you're just as like, you know, we're all screwed up, guys.
Yeah. All right. So what'd you watch in July?
So I have a crush on Muriel Enos, and she's you know who she is. Yes, no, question mark.
No.
She's a redhead, and she has a low-ish voice, but it's so sultry and it's so pretty. And Jeremy and I were just going through a moment of like, what the hell should we watch tonight moments. And so I think it was Netflix. I can't recall what platform we watched, but oh wait, I can actually look. It was Prime Video. So we watched it on Prime, and basically I read in its the description, and it sounded like promising, you know, mother and father, Muriel Enos and Peter Skarsgård. Skarsgård. I know which one this is. He's not the ripped abs, the Maggie Gyllenhaal husband, Peter starred him. And I know who this guy is. I like him a lot. Husband and wife have a daughter who makes a mistake by killing someone, you know, like daughters do. And
I know which movie this is now.
So
Yeah.
it's like, it's called The Lie. Did I say that yet? The Lie?
No.
I think I just talked about Muriel Enos and how I have a crush on her.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So it's called The Lie, and it's on Amazon Prime. And the snippet of like what, you know, what are the lengths that you go for your child type of thing, to hide this sort of thing and to save your daughter and to do all this. And I was like, well, sure, this sounds great. You know, actors that I enjoy and stuff. And so daughter kills said person. And
now they don't know the extent of what she did at first when they first start covering for her, right?
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Right. But the problem is that from go, it's as if these two adults are the stupidest people on earth, because there really is no reason. There is zero reason for any of it. Zero reason for it. Is the most obvious accident. Like this, it could be written like it could so easily be done in like 10 minutes. Like the fact that the parents had to concoct.
She tripped and fell on my knife 17 times.
It was fell off a bridge.
Oh, okay.
There's no way, like, and so you're like, was she pushed? Did she fall? Did she this? But it was an immediate reaction from the parents to be like, we can't say anything. And I'm like, she fell
from a bridge. Yeah.
She fell, like, I'm like, well, this is so, and then even as it, so it's just one of those things that if you are smart at all, like if you've made it past the third grade, my guess is that you would be smarter than anyone in this movie. And so it was, thankfully,
I didn't make it all the way to third grade.
I know,
for nothing.
Exactly. I was waiting for you. I was like, I know he's gonna figure it out. That was our little rescuers, Joanna. Wasn't it her name? Wasn't her name Joanna?
Joanna. Yeah. I can't do any accents. I should not try. But think of someone yelling Joanna in a Australian accent.
It's
from
good.
the Rescuers Down Under people.
There you go. And it's so good because he didn't make it all the way to third grade for nothing. And just remembering that moment was better than watching.
It reminded me of the Rescuers Down Under. So a win.
But it's one of those things that I enjoy. This is going to come out wrong. I don't enjoy lying at all. It's one of my biggest pet peeves, and it's what our youngest gets in trouble for all the gosh darn time. And so I hate lying, but I really liked the idea in movies of like the twists and the turns and like the mental and verbal gymnastics that people can do or will try to do to try to make things right. And so, like, as when you find yourself in a hole, stop digging. But these people just keep digging. But the thing is that they didn't even.
I'm sure I can get out this way.
They looked for a hole. Like they found something that was completely flat, and they're like, I bet we could make a hole out of this. And it just was stupid. The whole, like, at the very beginning, I'm like, this is how she died. Like, I could understand if they were shot, or if there was a stabbing or something. The problem is that there's a big twist at the end, which Jeremy and I both guessed at the onset. We're like, well, the only way that this could pay off at all is if this was actually the reality. And we were like, nope, this is the only way it can pay off. And since it was true that we were right, and it wasn't a payoff at all, we're like, oh, it was really that easy that we guessed it like 10 minutes in when we just thought everyone was stupid. Oh, I expected more from these actors. So The Lie on Amazon Prime.
Nice. Think about checking that out. So my next movie is Fear Street, Part 1, 1994. Now, if you are our age, you probably remember the R.L. Stine series from our grade school years, both Goosebumps and Fear Street. Now, I remember they existed because a lot of my peers had them, so I saw them around, but I never read any of them because as a kid, I read what my mom read. I read what was on her bookshelf, and I browsed in the same areas of the library that she did. So mom didn't read YA stuff, so neither did I. Right. So I heard they were doing a Fear Street movie. I saw the trailer, a month before it came out. I'm like, oh, they're adapting the Fear Street books into a movie. And then I found out they're making it into an interconnected trilogy of films that are all going to release in the month of July. And it's going to tell one story spanning centuries. And I thought, wow, that's really interesting. So the first part takes place in 1994 and is pretty well influenced by the 90s Scream type movies. Very self-aware, very aware of the tropes of the horror genre. And it presents itself as a supernatural slasher. Let me get the bad stuff out of the way. I felt, at least with this installment, that the music and the cinematography overpowered the tone they were going for. It got in the way of itself. Okay. Not bad, but it was just too much, too in your face. Like the needle drops were a bit too on the nose. A lot of the editing was a bit too it's like, okay, I got it. Chill, relax, take a drag on some MJ, relax, my dealer was late, edit the shit out of this. But
don't you think that's just like a dealer to be late?
Damn dealers.
Sorry.
Maybe you don't have shit to do, Brian, but I do. Also, the characters were a bit hard to like, but they did grow on me throughout the movie. By the end of the movie, I enjoyed spending time with our main cast, our main Scooby-Doo gang. The basic premise is, in the town of Shadyside, hundreds of years ago, the evil witch Sarah Fear was put to death, but she made a pact with Satan. She chopped off her hand and to offer to Satan to get ultimate power, and cursed the town because she's just so evil and she'll get you. So that curse manifested as every generation, a supernatural slasher rises and terrorizes the town and kills a bunch of people. Slashers like Michael Myers or Jason Voorhees or the Leprechaun, things like that. So a resident of Shadyside will become possessed and will go around killing a bunch of people. And that's happened throughout the decades. And now we're in 1994 and it's happening again. So our main cast of characters have to run away from what's essentially the ghost face killer from a Scream.
Mm-hmm.
And what I liked most about this movie was the mythology and world building. I felt it was extraordinarily well paced because at an even pace throughout the film, you're constantly learning new things about the witch Sarah Fear and the curse that has haunted Shadyside and what's actually going on and what the rules of the curse are and how you might be able to avoid it. And I found all that stuff particularly fun and fun to watch and really well presented. Also, this movie has an absolutely all-timer kill. I mean, when you make lists of best kills in horror slasher movies, this is probably good. This kill is going to be in the running. It's really good. So I really enjoyed Fear Street, and I definitely ended the film going, I'm very much looking forward to seeing the next installment the following week.
Which I guess you can talk about right now.
No, because the next movie I watched.
What would you, like off the top of your head, do you happen to know what would be one of your, I mean, you don't have to say number one because I don't know my number one off the top of my head, but like.
Favorite kill?
Death. Yeah. I mean.
One of my favorite.
Johnny Depp comes to mind for me. And
it's definitely an all-timer because it's so shocking and the effect was so creative. For anyone that's the one where Johnny Depp gets pulled into his bed and then an absolute geyser of blood shoots out of the bed.
Yeah.
How they did that was they built the entire set on a rotating gimbal and they bolted all the furniture down and they loaded the bed with a bunch of blood and then they turned the whole room upside down and just dumped it all out.
But it looks so good.
It's amazing. I personally wouldn't put that on like my favorite, Andrew's favorite kill list. That actually might be an interesting video idea. But off the top of my head, one of my all-time favorite kills is from Freddy versus Jason. It's one of the first kills in the movie, where you have a couple post-coitus, the gal's in the shower, the guy's laying in bed, smoking a joint and drinking a beer. Jason wanders in, and the guy's like, "Oh no, it's Jason!" And he like flips over, so he's on his chest, like he's reaching for, I don't know, a bat or the phone, or just trying to crawl out of bed. And Jason just, double fisting the machete, just stabs the ever-loving hell out of this guy through the back, and then sticks the machete in the ground, grabs both ends of the bed and just wham, and just folds it up in half and just folds this guy like a taco. And there's this satisfying crunch sound and the noise that the actor made, this it is so good. That's one of my favorite kills.
Okay then.
So just to give you an idea of the kind of competition that my kill list might have.
All right, me. What did I watch?
I need to do another one.
So
the next movie I watched was called Belladonna of Sadness. This is a animated film from Japan in the 70s that is a very lazily animated fable that is nothing more than an excuse to draw smut. I will expand on that.
That sounds delightful.
I wouldn't not recommend it. So, there is so a person can't pay their taxes, so the king like rapes the wife, and then she goes home limping, and then the husband is so ashamed that she got raped that he strangles her, but then she survives, and she finds a talking penis. Well, it's a fairy, but that's definitely a penis. That's like, hey, I'll give you ultimate power if you let me just inchworm my way around you and stuff. And she's like, no, I mean, maybe a little power, but my heart belongs to God and all that. So she gets a little power, which gives her family just the tip. Yeah. Of course, the penis demon at the time wasn't much more than the tip anyway. So she gets a little power, and they start experiencing fortune, and her husband becomes the town tax collector. But the town is poor, so he can't collect any taxes because no one has any money. So the baron of the land that had originally raped his wife in the first place, like, lops off his hand, and he's very sad about that. And so there's this prophecy. It's like, if you burn a witch at the stake with her pride intact, then you lose. She wins. Bad things will happen to you. So she makes a deal with the devil this time to get all the power, and she becomes the town moneylender, and she gets all the power. And then the baron is like, hey, I'll make you my number two if you show me your boobs or something. And she's like, no, I want the entire world. And he's like, witch, burn at the stake. So he burns her at the stake, but everyone likes her because she was the town moneylender, and she was really fair, and she had nice boobs. And she hosted some banging orgies, so she was really popular. And so they burnt her at the stake, but she had her pride intact, and that's what led to the French Revolution. I'm not kidding. That is literally where this goes. It's the weirdest damn thing. So animation. You've seen, no doubt, motion comics, which are where they basically take a comic book and they present it as an animated film by just kind of shifting the panels around a little bit, zooming in, zooming out, panning, isolating some of the characters in the panel so that they can, move them independent of the background. It's almost like a character on a stick doing this. The animation is in this movie is almost that level. Most of the time they don't bother drawing the backgrounds. It's like single static shots of character. The only times that any life is brought into the animation is when there's sex or nudity. And then you have just some genuinely really creative and compelling uses of surrealism and abstraction. That's genuinely fascinating to behold. But only when there's sex and nudity. If no one's naked and no one's banging, then no one can bother to even finish drawing the scene. It's like, okay, we've got a face and there's no boobs. Who cares? Static shot for the next minute and a half. So is it good? No, but I also can't say it isn't worth seeing because it is kind of fascinating. And when it does do the sex, and it does the sex fairly frequently throughout the runtime, there is some genuinely fascinating, compelling imagery and visuals used in the service of smut, but that doesn't make the imagery any less creative and compelling.
That's interesting. Like that would kind of get to me, like the back and forth of like, oh, now we're going to spend money on this area because I don't know. I mean, I guess
it
If it's
feels blatant.
if it is as frequent, however, as you state it is, maybe it's not so like, all of a sudden there's just nipples in my face.
Yeah, it's yeah, it really feels like the film was an excuse to draw smut.
Yeah.
Which
And they got
perfectly valid reason, but that's what I came away thinking. I'm like, you just wanted to draw boobs and other abstractions like flowers opening and things like that,
Oh, Georgia would be so happy, and I just do not like her art. I never have. I know it's very unwomanly of me not to like Georgia O'Keeffe, but I just don't like her. So I
honestly wonder what she'd think about this film.
Well, there you go.
She probably, that's a bit on the nose, don't you think?
Right.
Okay. What else did you watch last month?
So going through what I continue to watch at home, I watched Tenet, the Christopher Nolan movie. God, when did that come out? A
couple of months ago, I think, right? It was earlier this year.
Was it this year or was it?
Oh, no. That was like last August, right? Yeah, like last August or September. That's right. Yeah.
Okay, it was. I'm trying to find
Yeah, because it came out in the theaters and nobody went to see it.
No, because I was not going to the theaters when this came out.
Not last August, no.
No, I was not. So we saw it here, and I'm gonna as Christopher Nolan's what is the one that he did with Leonardo DiCaprio? Inception. As with Inception before it, and as with The Matrix, which I know is not a Christopher Nolan film, but The Matrix before it, it is 100% one of those films that. Do you remember the marketing for The Matrix was you can't talk about The Matrix, you just have to see The Matrix. Like you can't. You have to see it.
No one can be told what The Matrix is. You have to see it for yourself.
And I feel like Tenet is very much. I mean, just like it's every morning I have a ritual that I like to tell Jeremy my dreams from the night before.
Ritual, having grown up with you, I'm familiar with this ritual. A little background: my sister is one of the people who can remember her dreams, like the entire thing, all the details front to back, and she will tell you her entire dream as a narrative.
Yeah, it's very important.
And it makes just as much sense as dreams do. So
exactly. But I'll tell you all of them. And so that's what this movie is. So it's like I can't explain it to you, but what I can tell you is
makes sense when you're watching it.
And I wish I need to know who Nolan's like 5-minute pitch man is, or like how he's like. First off, let's be real. He didn't even have to pitch this movie. They were like, "We'll just give you some money. You made a really great Batman." So
your name, Nolan, Christopher, approved.
Exactly
approved.
But it's so good. Like, so there's obviously the things that we do know about it is that it plays with time, just as a lot of things that he does play with time. Robert Pattinson, I'm so happy that this dude has come so far from Twilight. I remember seeing Robert Pattinson for the first time as Cedric Diggory when he fell out of the tree and says hello. And I remember being in the movie theater going, now there's a cutie. And then the next time he was cast was as the Twilight vampire. And I'm like,
Pattinson has always been a solid performer. He was good as Diggory in four, right? Goblet of Fire, I think is the one. Yeah, he gives good death face.
He has what?
He gives good death face.
Yeah, no, he's in this and he's really good. And John David Washington, Denzel's kid, that's 3 names, something Washington. It is John David. Look at me. Fantastic. So there's a lot of and Kenneth Branagh is in it. No one told me that going in.
No one told me that either.
Right, and he's great, and I like it so much more than Inception. Like leaps and bounds, I like it more than Inception. And in fact, I need to see it again. But I will give a little bit of a caveat on this here movie, in that I haven't watched it again. I really, really want to, but it is one of those that it's over 2 hours, and like that really eats into my Animal Crossing time. So you gotta be picky about movies that you're watching in this house right now. I also watched Mayor of Easttown. That was the other one that took over my July and why I didn't see a lot of movies. Pausing is one thing. If you're going to watch this movie, watch it from start to finish. I have a very bad habit, and again, as brother has grown up with me, watching movies at night for me is difficult because I have this internal clock that will beat everything else, no matter how excited I am about anything.
It says it's sleepy time now.
There is pumpkin time, and when pumpkin time comes,
we're out.
I am out. And so I had to watch this in 2 installments. And let me tell you, there is not a good place to stop this movie, but to try to get through the whole thing. But it is just so, the entire second half of the movie. So you watch the first half and you are just questioning, you're like, that is the weirdest thing. Why? You know, because you'll see scenes like they're in the back of a truck and they're going to go to a war zone, right? And you're like, all right, getting ready. And the back of the truck, it's that quintessential scene in those movies. The truck flap comes down and they run out of the truck and it's deserted. And there's kind of like little smoke piles places. And you're sitting there going, I'm so confused as to what is, hi, baby, as to what is happening. And I'm like, that's so crazy. Everything has a payoff at the end, and they are such good payoff. And it's one of those, please don't do that. And it's one of those, I need to clip her nails. And it's one of those that I would never have. I've never watched a movie with so many, oh my gosh, one right. It's like it comes as a cascade because they set it all up in the first hour and a half. And then basically that second hour and a half is them saying, and here's what all of that was. And you're just like mind blowing, left and right blowing. And I was fascinated and I loved it. And I can't wait to watch it again. Except I'm
without a break in the middle.
Without a break in the middle, although I am nervous because it is, I feel like it might be one of those movies that the romanticized version of it, when you first watch it, and you're just kind of like, it takes you back like, oh, I didn't see that. And oh, that's what that meant. And oh, that's what this was. And oh, this is when this was. Because like I said, it deals a lot with, you know, different time traveling. And one of the biggest quotes that they say all the time is like, your future is in the past. You have a future in the past. And it makes perfect sense in the movie, but it's such a weird line. Mm-hmm. But it is one of those things that I'm afraid when I watch it again, I'll pick up on things that don't quite marry. Like, I'll pick up on like the oopses, you know. And I'm like, I don't want to be let down. I want to believe that it's truly, because that's my thing with Inception. The first time I saw Inception, I think I was very like, I didn't like it as much as my reaction to Tenet. Like Tenet blew me away. Inception I liked. But as I watch it more and more, I get a little bit more and more like, I don't know if that's your feeling on Inception, but it's definitely mine.
I haven't seen it, so
it's not the most rewatchable for me. And I don't want Tenet to be unrewatchable because I really liked it. So anyways, that was, and that really tall girl who was in The Night Manager. She's the golden girl from
Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
That one.
Name's not coming to me, but I know who you're talking about. Yeah,
she's lovely.
Yes. All right, so the next thing I watched was Monsters University, the prequel to Monsters Inc.
Is this your first time watching it?
Yeah, I've
never seen it either, but holy moly, that's awesome.
Yeah, now that I have Disney Plus, I've been like, there's a lot of Disney and Pixar films over the last decade that I just never bothered watching because they just didn't interest me, like Monsters University and Finding Dory and any of the Cars sequels and The Good Dinosaur and Coco was one of them. Moana was one of them. I have since seen a lot of these, but right now we're talking about Monsters University, which is a prequel, as I mentioned, to Monsters Inc. that covers Mike and Sully when they met in college and they joined the.
Is it still John Goodman and Billy Crystal?
It is, yes.
Okay.
Surprisingly, they're doing a Monsters. It's called Monsters at Work. There's a half-hour TV show or a 22-minute TV show for Monsters on Disney Plus right now. And Goodman and Crystal they're not the main characters, but Mike and Sully are there with their original voices. Jennifer Tilly's still in there too. So
nice.
Anyway, but Monsters University covers Mike and Sully at their college. And they join the uncool fraternity, and then they get into the competition of all fraternities. And if you've seen the trailer or if you've ever seen a movie before, you know exactly what happens in this movie. You are not going to be surprised by anything. It's fine. It's cute. It's watchable, but it's not particularly engaging or funny or creative or thoughtful or moving or surprising. It's just kind of there. The animation is good. It's of course a step up over what we originally saw. Sully's fur looks fantastic. But it's just, yeah, that's kind of the problem I've had with Disney and Pixar films for the last decade or so. Is I see the trailers, I'm like, I feel I've seen that before. I feel like I could predict like every single beat of the film, and Monsters University is exactly what you think it is going to be, just based on premise alone. Interestingly, I saw a year after Monsters University came out, they made a short. Like they did with the first Monsters Inc. They made it was Mike's New Car, where Mike gets a new car and he can't figure out how to operate it. It's just a 6-minute short. It's a gag. It's funny.
Yeah.
So the year after Monsters University came out, they made another short, which I forget what it's called, but it has our characters in their house throwing a party, but no one shows up. But the popular bro-y football-y fraternity is having a huge party where everyone is. So they steal the dimensional doors from the Monsters Inc. factory that they use to get into the kids' rooms, and they put one in their fraternity and one in the other one, and they use those dimensional doors to go through this sleeping couple's bedroom to sneak into the other frat house to steal all of their guests and Cheetos and stuff.
Yes.
It is hilarious. It's energetic. It's creative. It's inventive. It's funny. It's everything Monsters University is not.
Oh, that's terrible.
But the short is really good. And again, Monsters University isn't bad.
Right.
It's just there. It just is. It's neither good nor bad. It just
exists.
Is. Yeah, exactly. So
I feel that way with a lot of those. I don't think it got a theatrical release, did it? Because I feel like a lot they went to
Monsters University.
Yeah, did it? Because I
believe it did. Yeah.
They being Disney, there's so many sequels to so many of. I mean, you have the Return of Jafar. And
I don't think this was a DDP sequel.
And it's just always like, just because you can doesn't mean you should. Again, if someone said you can do this really schlocky thing and you're going to make a couple million, are you going to do it, Eisen? Yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do it. So I get it, but there's also like a point.
Andrew, will you do something creatively bankrupt for a lot of money? Yes.
But it does still just bother me. Like I from the capitalist point of view, I get it. But from like the parental point of view, that now I'm going to have that piece on my television for like 3 weeks in a row because a 6-year-old doesn't get that it's bad and it's just going to be on repeat. Like,
children have no taste.
God, they have no taste.
God, stop showing your kids Lululemon. It's not Lululemon. It's
Lululemon is leggings.
There's something on Netflix. It's a really shoddily CG animated thing for children. It's something with a lemon in it. I can't remember what it's called, but it's garbage.
I don't know.
Your kids have no taste. They'll watch anything, so show them something good.
Exactly.
All right. Moving on to Fear Street, Part 2, 1976. So the second of the Fear Street movies, where the first one ends is our surviving characters find, as I mentioned, Sarah Fear's curse manifests itself as a massacre happening every generation or so.
Okay.
So our survivors from the first movie find a survivor from the last time one of these massacres happened back in the late 70s. And they're like, Survivor girl, how did you survive? Maybe if we figure out how you did it, we can figure out how we survived the supernatural killer who's chasing us here in the 90s. And she says, well, let me tell you about what happened in 1978. And so the bulk of the film is the story of what happened at Camp Nightwing or something back in 1978. And it's essentially a Friday the 13th spam in a cabin, axe wielding maniac chasing campers around type of movie. Still digging the mythology. And the cinematography and the music weren't as overpowering as they were in the first installment. I thought it was much more appropriate. Still a lot of era appropriate needle drops, but they were more taps on the nose rather than, straight up punches in the nose,
Okay.
The problem I had I still liked this one. I felt this was weaker, mainly because remember I said the first one, it took me a while to get on board with the characters, but I kind of liked our main Scooby-Doo gang by the end of the movie.
Yeah.
This one, I never really cottoned on to most of them. I didn't dislike the characters, but I was never really with the characters.
I know.
Also, this movie, after having a phenomenal kill in the last movie, this one, for some reason, cuts away from about half of its kills. It doesn't have a kill that's as inventive and cool as the first movie, and it cuts away from a lot of them. Granted, there are a lot of kids at the camp, but young kids, like kids who are, maybe 13, 14 years old, rather than our teenage kids. 13, 14 is teenager, but instead of 24-year-olds playing 17-year-olds.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
They kill, I think, like 4 young kids in this one, but it's all done off screen, and it feels like they didn't need to do that. Like, I mean, there's a way to do that makes it they do something, an off-screen kill of children in the third movie, which I'll get to later, that works much better. In this one, it felt like, we can't do that. And it's like, well, then kill someone else. You've got a camp full of kids. Kill some of the older kids.
As people who have seen a lot of horror movies between us, there's definitely ways in which you can kill children and not really upset. I mean, yes, you're going to upset the audience because, killing children and or the, dog is.
And Chuck Russell's remake of The Blob in '88 does both.
Well, I always
a kid doesn't just get got. He gets got. He gets dissolved by the blob.
Well, my favorite will always
He's like 13 or something.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. Anyways, I can't wait to hear what you say about the next one about how it is done better.
But part 2 is not bad. I just felt was a step down because it didn't quite connect with the characters. Some of the kills it didn't have a stand-up kill. It cut away from half of them. And it just wasn't as interesting to me, but it did do a nice job of continuing the world building and mythology in an interesting way that I continued to find fascinating. So you still learn more details about what's actually going on and what the characters might be able to do to stop it. And in that sense, it was successful, but overall, I felt it was a bit of a step down from the first one.
Yeah.
So, what's your next one?
So, we're still in our, we still enjoy our zombie flicks. And so the other movie that we watched on streaming, and I forget which streaming, but I'm sure I could find it. I believe it was Netflix. We watched Cooties, which has my husband Elijah. And so it has Elijah Wood in it. And it's funny that you just said about your second Fear Street show, in that the characters weren't, it's not like they're bad, but it wasn't like, and there's a part of me that, reflecting on Cooties, and I'll get to the plot point in a moment, but reflecting on Cooties, like if it weren't for I will root for Elijah always. Like I was sad to see him go, and
even in Maniac,
like I'm just like, oh no, we're Elijah. But the teacher, so it's a school, and Elijah Wood is a substitute teacher, and he comes into the school this day, and he thinks he's some hotshot writer, and he's trying to be really cool and really like, that whole I'm sitting backwards in my chair, so I'm gonna be just like you type of a thing. So he's trying hard. And there was almost like an E. coli type outbreak in the school's chicken nuggets. And instead of E. coli, it zombified the children. However, it only, this virus that turns you into a zombie only affects not prepubescent. So if you've hit puberty, there are a few children within the school, because it's an elementary school. So there are a few children within the school that have hit puberty early, that it's not affecting them, and they kind of join the teachers in this, we have to get out alive. And I find it, and is it Ryan Wilson? The guy from The Office. I've never met him.
Honestly don't
He's
know.
never been able to introduce himself to me and say, "This is how you pronounce my name."
Next time we meet, I'll ask him.
Next time. Yeah, thank you. Next time we have lunch. So yeah, I don't know how to pronounce his name, but he's in it, and I must say, I find him both exciting and irritating at the same time, because I've not seen The Office. Let us be clear. I've never seen The Office. I know, say what you will, I'll read it in the comments later.
I've seen clips.
But he is so iconic as Dwight from The Office that it's hard for me to, even though I've never seen it.
Yeah, I've seen the memes.
Seeing him in something else is sometimes quite difficult, because you're like, oh, that's that guy. And he has like that one brand of, I'm going to overact in this direction. That's
why Krasinski grew a beard, because that's the only way he can separate himself from his Office character.
There you go. And so, but it worked. Like Ryan worked it. The whole thing, it was fun. It was funny. It worked. You do, and it's not that you don't like these teachers. It's just, they're not fleshed out as much as but it doesn't matter, because there you go, it's a zombie movie. But I liked it in that it was and I think, brother, you and I were talking about this the other evening, about, a lot of the times you don't see the kids as the antagonists, and technically it's not the children who are antagonists, they just unfortunately got infected and are now zombies. But to watch adults going around and like swinging lacrosse sticks at kids and stuff, it's almost it's a kind of fun release, and a kind of fun, like, talking about killing children. There's some children death, but you don't really see them as kids anymore.
They're not children. They're monsters.
Not children. They're
so
monsters.
Feel free to dispatch them.
So yeah. So it's just, again, it's a short film. It's probably one of those, hour and a half-ish things. I don't know how long it is, but it's in what year? I have it pulled up. Where is it? It is from 2014. So it's a little, not that you'd know, Elijah hasn't looked any different since.
Looked pretty much the same for the last 20 years. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, him and Paul Rudd should just,
Yep.
tell us, just share.
What's the secret?
For the love of goodness, please share your secrets.
It's like,
so yeah,
Paul said, I told Elijah, but it's up to him to pass it on.
He's like Paul's like, I did my part. So yeah, it's fun. It's schlocky. I will say, I'm not going to ruin the ending because it doesn't really have an ending.
I think Barbara Crampton is in on that little circle with Paul Rudd and Elijah Wood too.
Girls are harder though. Like we age. I look at pictures of myself, even from things that you and I do on this. I'm like, oh my God, I look so different. But yeah, so that's what I have to say about Cooties. I was gonna say something else, but I don't. It hasn't come to me yet. Oh, I remember now. So brother and I, this has only a slight bit to do with Cooties. Brother and I grew up in a school system that was K through 8. And apparently that is not common. So I currently work in education, and this movie, so if this was to take place at our school, when you and I were growing up,
there'd be a lot of 6-year-olds running around too.
We would have a good amount of people who have hit puberty being able to, help the teachers out. But this
I see what you're saying.
Yeah. So elementary now. So what I have learned in my adultness and apparently moving out of Arizona is that it's a lot of K through 5 or K through 6 is elementary.
Mm-hmm.
And then
you have a 7 and 8 middle school. Yeah.
6, 7, 8 is middle school. So when, so this is decidedly one of those. But I will say it would have probably thrown me a bit if I didn't work in the education space in which I currently work, because I will say it was that was the biggest learning curve for me going into my new position.
Yeah, it's like where are all the 8th graders? They're all 13, 14 years old.
Yeah, it didn't. K through 8 was our thing. And when I tell people we have K through 8, they're like, you had one school for K through 8? And I'm like, yeah. Doesn't everybody? Why do you got to split schools? It's like, it's kind of annoying in my opinion that it's split. But anyways, that's so for those of you asking out there about like, well, why was it just a few students who got to do the teachers? It's because it was only through like, 5th grade, and you only normally at that point have like 1 or 2 girls and or guys who have gone through some changes. So Cooties.
I didn't go through any changes.
Marry me.
No changes for me.
No, you can never. No. Brother came out of the womb and he's like, "What's up, doc?" No.
Yo.
He used to have a high voice, guys. It was there.
I came in, and my first words were, "Mother." Okay, so my next film is The Plague Dogs.
Okay.
So back in the late 70s, Martin Rosen adapted one of Richard Adams' books, Watership Down.
Oh, God.
Fearing that Watership Down was just too damn cheery, Martin Rosen decided to adapt another Richard Adams book, The Plague Dogs, which is about 2 dogs who escape an animal testing facility and try to survive in the wild.
Aww. Aww. I'm going to hate this, aren't I?
The ending is ambiguous. As to they're totally dead, but it's ambiguous. They're totally dead, but they're dead.
Like The Thing, they're dead, but it's ambiguous. But they're dead.
Like the end of The Thing, right? Okay. For someone, I was thinking of The Mist. I'm like, no, The Thing,
no,
yes,
The Thing.
With, Kurt Russell and Keith David, their final escape is they swim out into the ocean to the Isle of Dogs, I guess. And they're like, I know it's out there. I believe it's out there. I'm getting tired. I don't know if I can swim much more. No, we just have to go a little bit further.
I can't.
Look, I think I can see it. Yes, that's it. And they look off camera and then they paddle off camera. I'm like, yeah. I mean, so you could say that there is an island out there and they found it and they got to, no, they died. They drowned and they died. So the movie is about these two dogs who escape an animal testing facility and try to survive in the wild. And it's never boring. The animation is very nice, but it's not really very fun or uplifting.
No, it doesn't sound it.
No, but it is well done. The performances are nice. I really like how the animation keeps it as realistic as you possibly can when talking about when having talking animals.
Sure. Yeah.
The models are not Disneyified. They look like dogs, and the foxes look like foxes, and the sheep look like sheep. So how they survive is they steal and eat sheep and try not to get shot by the people who own the sheep and don't want their sheep being ate. So they just try to find shelter and try not to starve to death and try to avoid being recaptured. And of course, being dogs, they genuinely just don't understand what's going on. And at the end, of course, they escape from a research facility and they think that these dogs have the plague. So they're trying to chase these suckers and put them down.
Yeah.
And so that's why eventually they the fox dies. And the two dogs swim out into the ocean, and it's ambiguous, but they totally drown to death. Yeah, it's not an uplifting film, but in case you came out of Watership Down with too many smiles,
Right.
The Plague Dogs is free. Oh, that was a fun for the entire family. I haven't looked into Martin Rosen's filmography, but that's two Richard Adams books adaptations in a row. I was like, wait, is that the same guy who did Watership Down? I went, oh my god, it is. It's the same author too. And he found his niche.
Yeah, I guess maybe they were friends. Watership Down's been made several times though. It's interesting. I
believe so. Yeah, I'm talking about the late 70s one.
Yeah, no, and I'm with you on that, and I get that. I'm just saying, like, this one I've never even heard of before, and that's what I
actually had not heard of it until fairly recently too.
Yeah, so I wonder if there's other incarnations of it throughout.
Other adaptations of Plague Dogs. I'm not aware of any, but it's certainly not as well known. I mean, even if people don't know what Watership Down is, most people have at least heard the name.
That's the thing.
Plague Dogs, I'd never heard of before. So.
Yeah, well, and it's not a great name. I get it. But it's not like
it works.
That's
it's
interesting.
adequate.
I mean, well, Watership Down is not a great name either, but it actually works in the fact that
it's an iconic name.
It's about rabbits, and we're like, there's something about bunnies.
Yeah, something about bunnies and blood and death, and I remember it being really depressing. Yeah. All right, so the next film I watched was the Three Caballeros.
Oh my Hannah!
Have you ever seen this?
No.
Do you know what this is?
I believe I do.
This is the Donald Duck and the parrot and the chicken thing from 1945, and I honestly had no idea. I was familiar with the characters, the Three Caballeros.
Yeah.
But I had no idea what this movie actually was. It's a...
And you still don't know.
Well, it is a... I think that Disney, back in the 40s, probably having to do something to do with the war at the time, it was in its best interest to play nice with South and Central America.
Okay.
So the film is a live action and animated travel tour of Brazil and Mexico and some other places in Central and South America.
I didn't know there was any live action in there.
Oh yeah, yeah. So essentially, it's like, oh, isn't Brazil really cool? Let's open a book and fly our magic carpet in, and oh, hey, look, here's some actual real South American, and they have some South American who are actual real at the time South American performing artists and singers who were actually known in the area at the time. So the whole thing feels like we need to get these countries, we need to, kind of buddy up with these. Probably, I would have to imagine, it's something to do with the war effort at the time.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense.
So how is the movie? Well, if you want to watch a movie in which Donald Duck is horny for every single woman in Latin America, this is a movie for you. Because Donald is gaga for every single woman every single live action woman that they meet in their Latin American tour.
Wow.
But the movie starts out with unrelated bits about a penguin and a flying donkey. So
they never come back,
which doesn't lean into anything, doesn't link to anything. So the premise is Donald got a big present, and in the present is a film projector, and so he plays the film, and there's a little short cartoon about a penguin who wants to move to warmer climates. So he paddles his igloo to warmer climates and hangs out on a hammock. Then there's one about a kid who gets a donkey that can fly, and he enters a race and he wins it because he has a flying donkey. And then the parrot from South America shows up, and we go into the travel book and go into a lot of live action scenes with Brazilian dancers and singers and stuff, and they're boogieing, and they're doing the whole Roger Rabbit thing. And there is some wonderful technical work being done here. It's old now, but it is really impressive for the time. But the movie is dull, confusing, poorly paced, and mostly unfunny.
See, because that's whenever
iconic character designs. That parrot and the chicken, those are iconic designs. Everyone recognizes the Three Caballeros. But the movie is not very good.
I never realized that there was
not really even a movie,
because even in like Future from like Donald Duck, there's always a poster in the background of all the there's always a poster back there if Donald's in a scene. Like it's just a wink and a nod to the fact that like any sort of like Disney animated things now. So that's why I was like, oh, that's the same with like when Steamboat Willie, when you finally watch that one. So I was expecting a story more akin to just how.
Yeah, it's not I was expecting expecting an animated movie, probably 62 to 70 minutes long, that starred these three characters going on an adventure of some sort. That's not what it is. It's a couple cartoon shorts followed by you should visit Latin America because it's nifty. Look, Donald Duck is horny for all the girls there.
Oh, sorry, baby. That's so weird.
Yeah, it's really weird. But a couple of years ago, Disney made The Legend of the Three Caballeros cartoon, serialized cartoon that's on Disney Plus right now. I watched the first few episodes, and it's not too bad. I think DuckTales is better, but it's pretty good, and it's the Three Caballeros going on adventures. It's not too bad. It's creative. It's attractive. It's funny. It didn't really keep me watching past like episode 5 or 6 or something like that. But overall, I thought it was a decent show. So the characters persist, but the original Three Caballeros. To be fair, though, it's not intended to be a movie or a cartoon. They're selling you something. So
sure.
All right, what'd you watch next?
So then in the theater, I saw In the Heights.
The musical, yes.
The musical, yes. So, so I never saw In the Heights on Broadway, and I also never heard the soundtrack. So the one thing I was unfamiliar. Did I know about it? Yes. Was I familiar of the concept that there was a show called In the Heights that was Lin-Manuel's first outing, or foray, if you will, into the Broadway? Yes, I knew about it. Totally on board in that way. So I think I'm going to talk about the things that irked me about it. So it's hard for me. Obviously, I liked it. It is a musical. It is set in New York. It is about the immigrant population. And one of the things, and it's just lovely, and it's a great snippet of like 5 days in the life, if you will, of these people, and it's just lovely. And the singing and the songs are great, and the gorgeous. I'm gonna have to turn it. I'm gonna have to find my In the Heights, because his name is so basic, and I'd say that Corey Hawkins. I know. I'm sorry that I say that your name is so basic, because you are anything but basic, sir. He was in Straight Outta Compton, and I'm like, he played Dr. Dre, and I'm like, you just pretty, and I will continue to think that you're pretty. And anyhow, the point is, it's so well done.
What'd you think of my movie? You pretty.
So it's really well done, and it's really fun, and I 100% recommend it. And it's a show, if you are a lover of Broadway as well, there's so many Easter eggs in there. That's one of those, it is speaking to the people who know. Like Daphne Rubin Vega is in it, and she has a very large part, but when she showed up, I didn't realize it was a large part. I just saw her because her introduction, and she was the original Mimi in Rent, for those of you going, who is Daphne Rubin Vega? Although none of you should be asking who Daphne Rubin Vega is.
But maybe you should be asking, what's Rent?
I know, I'm so old. But anyway, so it's such a good time, and it's so fun. And I highly recommend it. And it's just about stuff and things and stuff. But here's what we don't like about it. Okay, fine. So the number one thing that we don't like about it, and I know, and it hurts me so much to say this, is Lin-Manuel. He has a role in it, which was nice at the beginning, because you think to yourself, and it's not a role, it's a cameo. However, the cameo outlives its need. It's sweet, and here's why. And I it's not that he does poorly at all. The man is fantastic at what he does. Lin-Manuel is a little too iconic at this moment, that
stands out like a sore thumb.
Stands out that you're like, oh, here he is doing, like, if it was the same role but some other dude singing it, you'd be like, oh, that's fine. This is, but when it's him, you're almost like, oh, Lin, you're just putting yourself into your movie it was obvious that he wanted something to do. And I get that, and I love that, but it really is that, okay, dude, we get it. You're too old to play the role anymore, because he originated the role.
Right. If this had come out when he'd first written it, he probably would have been the lead.
Exactly. So it's and again, like you want Stan Lee. Stan did cameos the correct way. We always knew it was him.
It's Stan Lee.
We're always excited to see it, but it was 10 seconds, and you were like, there he is. Oh,
bye, Stan.
And he was terrible each time, but it totally worked. And that's what we wanted here. Like, I wanted Lynn to just be a person who shouted, like, keep the ruckus down or something, and then we in the audience were like,
hey, you kids, get off my lawn.
Exactly. That's what we needed, and that's what we didn't get. So I was kind of disappointed in that. Oh, well, more Lin-Manuel Miranda singing at me. Oh, dear, however will I exist? But no, unfortunately, there was a girl, the lead girl, or second, there were two lead females, and one of them was terrible. I mean, I'm talking. So, as someone who is very dramaturgically inclined when I'm watching movies, I always feel like I'm a little bit harder than other people would be. And I'm sure that, y'all are here for my brother, and that, Andrew is quite, he's probably worse than me, but not in a bad way. The
He's
first
worse, but not in a bad way.
bad way, just like more critical. So in the first scene you see her, she is walking down the street singing, and things are happening beside her, and she's like long shots of her, and she's wearing these shoes and this tiny jumper, and she looks so uncomfortable. The actress looks so uncomfortable walking in these shoes and bearing that much skin. You can tell how uncomfortable she is. And I'm like, how did this ever happen? She obviously can't walk in those shoes. She like, first off, she wasn't great anyways. There was a lot about this particular actress that I was like, why did you get cast? But moreover, how did that get by the costume designers and the director to be like, like they should, like, hey, Susan, you okay? You want some lower heels? Yes, but like, because then she's in sneakers in other scenes, and you're like, thank gosh. And she's the love interest to this Corey Hawkins, gorgeous Adonis of a man. And he's like with this little girl who's like, I can't walk in high heels, which I totally sympathize with because I can't either. I'm terrible.
I'm pretty sure I couldn't.
Like I said, I sprained my ankle last week doing nothing because I am just like clumsy Mick Clumserton. So I get it. It's okay. It's okay if you can't, if we don't all have to be J-Lo. But like this girl is, it takes you out. And after the movie was over, I was with my girlfriend, Ashley. And she said the same thing. She's like, that girl could not walk in the, I was like, whoa, even if you even knew it, because I feel like a layman who didn't go to school to criticize people and stuff and things was telling, I was like, wow. So that was unfortunate because I feel like if that role was cast better, then it would have, because it's very annoying when a casting choice is missed so hard, especially in movies that, I look at Footloose. You don't get much better than, Kevin Bacon, and then you have Christopher Penn, the late great Christopher Penn, John Lithgow. Goodness gracious, Footloose has an amazing, and then all of a sudden, what the heck's her name? Lori Singer? She plays Ariel, the love interest of Kevin Bacon's Ren McCormick in Footloose, and it's terrible. Sarah Jessica Parker, cute as a button, and then they get this girl, and you're like, it just, when everything else works, and there's one thing that just totally stands out as so bad, but it's such an important character, and that character is going to be in like every scene. It's a tough pill to swallow, and that is
it's unfortunate.
It's the one thing that
I just feel bad that
like,
the actor felt she had to perform in an outfit she was clearly uncomfortable in, and no one apparently noticed or cared. That's a damn
terrible
shame.
too. Like, and I'm not saying that was why she was bad. Like, I did not enjoy her performance from start to finish, but it was so interesting. I agree with you. It was so interesting, like how that actually got in is. It's impressive to me that how that actually passed anyone's because it's the first thing you see of her, and you're like, I've seen women walk down the street doing the like the adjusting of everything.
Are my butt cheeks hanging out my short? I need to
and
cinch
you
these
could
suckers
tell
down a bit.
that in her head as she's singing, she's like singing the words, and she's like, don't adjust it, don't adjust your boots, just don't adjust it, don't touch, you're gonna be out, don't touch. But she's like singing something else, and I'm like, oh, poor girl, just pick your wedge.
Go ahead and pick that wedge.
You can do it. It's okay. We do it. Anyway, so that's again, I spent this time talking about it negatively, which is but the thing to know about it is, like, when I have so much good to say, that's not as interesting as like the one bad thing.
Yeah.
So yeah.
All right. Next for me is definitely the bestly named movie in my list.
I'm so excited.
The Bingo Long Traveling All-Stars and Motor Kings.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
So this is a late 70s presented as kind of like, you remember Major League, the baseball
Yeah.
movie?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
This is kind of like a cross between that and, say, A League of Their Own. Takes place in the same league of their own, the 30s, where you had the segregated baseball leagues.
Okay.
And so one of the our stars are Billy D. Williams and James Earl Jones, who are one is one of the best pitchers in the a black baseball league, and one is one of the best batters. And they're, of course, their owners are, exploit them and take advantage of them. So they say, you know what? We are amazing ball players. We're just going to get all the best ball players and form our own damn league, and we'll tour around. And they essentially become kind of like the Harlem Globetrotters of baseball.
Oh, neat.
Where they're just like on another level of and they get a lot of there's a lot of they kind of deal with the racism of the day, because no one really wants to watch, black ball players beat white ball players. But if they do it in a funny and entertaining way, then it's more palatable, you see. So they end up touring around, put it as the Bingo Long. That's Billy D. Williams' character's name is Bingo Long. So the Bingo Long Traveling All-Stars and Motor Kings. And they go around challenging different ball teams to games, and they do it in funny ways, like throwing firecrackers at each other and pulling their pants down, and doing stuff like that. I have never heard a movie soundtrack work so hard to convince you that a movie is more entertaining than it actually is. Oh man, this soundtrack puts in the work. It's like, we're having fun, we're having fun, we're having fun. Aren't you having fun? And it's like, no. Another movie that feels like it was edited with a chainsaw, because sometimes scenes just end like in the middle of a sentence. It's the editing is so bad in this movie. It's
What year is this movie? Obviously, you're talking about
1977.
Oh my God! So you're talking about two gentlemen who would not be making this film within the last 30 years.
Yeah, it's not as funny or exciting or compelling as it should be. It's the soundtrack again is working overtime to try and convince you that it is, but man, it's just not. But I will say that Richard Pryor is in the movie, and he is completely wasted. I mean, it's kind of like his performance in Superman 3. If you remember that one, it's like, I like Richard Pryor, funny dude, but oh my God, get out of this movie. What are you doing, man? The movie just stops cold every time he does his shtick, almost like he was added later. Like they shot, like Richard Pryor just wandered up on and said, "Hey guys, what's going on? Holy shit, Richard Pryor's here. Get onto the movie." And they just inserted terrible. But Tommy Lee Jones, James Earl Jones, and Billy D. Williams are amazing. Oh my God, they are phenomenal. They are so funny. They have so much chemistry. Those two should have been doing buddy comedies all throughout the 70s and 80s. None that I'm aware of, but my God, are they great together in this movie. They are so much better than the movie, but those two are so compelling and charismatic and have such a great, their characters have such a great friendship that it carries what would otherwise be a very underwhelming and dull film.
Well, at least there's that.
Yeah. So, and it's called The Bingo Long Traveling All-Stars and Motor Kings, which is like the greatest title ever.
Yeah.
And it's got a great movie poster, which when I edit the video, I'll have next to us. Yeah, exactly. But trust me, it's really good.
Really?
So the next movie I watched is Gunpowder Milkshake.
I feel like I've heard of this.
Yeah, Karen Gillan,
Oh yeah,
woman who's in Jumanji, plays Nebula in the Guardians of the Galaxy movie.
Nebula Jumanji,
Yeah,
which I
her.
don't think people realize that that's the same gal that it is.
Yeah, her. Lena Headey, Michelle Yeoh, and two other people. One is why am I not, who's in Gerald's Game? The one with the woman cuffed to the bed.
Gina Caragilio.
Yeah, I was thinking Linda Fiorentino, and I'm like, no, that's not right. Gina Gershon. Yeah, her. Yeah, so great cast. No. Yeah, the chocolate lady.
Yeah.
So it's an action movie. It's an assassin does assassiny things. There are gunfights. It's disappointing. Yeah, it's not very good. Really, while I love the production design. It's got a real almost old Hollywood sets with a backdrop, kind of, that artificial stagey look that old Hollywood used to have. It's got kind of that aesthetic going on.
Okay.
And I like it, but it's not terribly consistent. The premise is solid. It's got a lot of fun ideas. We've got some wonderful charismatic performers in it. Half the jokes really fall flat. Some of them, like half of them land and half of them are just fall flat. A lot of the action is really very inventive, but it's so poorly shot that it really undercuts it. For example, there's a wonderfully conceived scene where Karen Gillan is stabbed with a anesthetic, and she loses all feeling in her arms. So her arms are just hanging loosely on her side. She's like, shoot, can't move my arms. So the little kid, so essentially this is The Professional, the Leon movie with the Jean Reno and Natalie Portman. Right. It's kind of like that. She's protecting a little kid whose father she, assassinated. So she's like, okay, little kid, I need you to duct tape a gun in one hand and a knife in the other. And so she gets it. So the three bad guys are high on laughing gas because she beat the crap out of them earlier. So they go to the same hospital she's in, and they're like sniffing the laughing gas. And so you have three goons who are like on crutches and stuff because she beat the snot out of them earlier, laughing their asses off as she comes at them going, swinging her arms wildly, trying to shoot and slash at them. And it is so amazingly conceived and shot so poorly.
Oh, no.
The following scene is after that scene, she beats the bad guys. They get into a car. And so now we get the car chase scene. But the problem is her arms still don't work. So she has the kid sit on her lap and do the steering for her while she works the pedals and tells the kid, all right, jerk the wheel hard to the right. Now, backwards spinny thing.
Oh,
wonderfully well conceived. A car chase where she has the kid on her lap doing the steering. Again, really, really poorly shot. And
that sounds cool. That sounds fun.
Yeah, it's really just a darn shame. Who is the other woman in this movie? Because she's fun too. Is it Carla Gugino? Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce her name. Lena Headey. Angela Bassett. That's who it is.
Oh, she's a badass, Angela Bassett.
Yeah. And Michelle Yeoh, if I didn't mention her earlier. Yeah, you have a bunch of just absolutely badass people. And you're like, oh man, I can't wait for all these badass people to go tearing up. And it's shot so poorly that it doesn't really work. Although Michelle Yeoh does have this wonderful thing where I think Angela Bassett's like, there's something in your hair. And she's like, oh, it's a tooth. She throws it behind her because she was beating the snot out of people with like a hammer or something. She's like, there's something in your hair. She's like, oh, tooth. There's That's some fantastic. Stuff really genuinely works, but yeah, I mean the characters are underdeveloped, but that might not matter too much because the actors are so charismatic and so much fun. But and the action again is so inventive, but it's so poorly shot and half the jokes fall flat that overall I would say it was a disappointment. I don't feel I wasted my time on the movie, but I did leave it disappointed in it. I was hoping for better, honestly.
Oh, boo.
But if they wanted to take another shot at it with the same cast, go for it.
Yeah.
I mean, even though one of them died, I bring her back from the dead as a zombie, as a ghost. I don't care. She's cool. Bring her back. It's fine. I'm good with it.
Yeah.
I was only mostly dead.
There you go. Could work out.
Okay. We have more movies to cover, but I have to. This video is long enough, and I have a Sunday stream to do in a couple of minutes. So we will end it here and pick up with the rest of our July movies another time.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I do hope everyone is. Let me know what you think about this format for the monthly movie mini reviews. It's a lot longer, but
I already have a suggestion. This should just be a live stream, and you can promote it as a live stream, and you and I will chat, and we can have people.
We could do it as a podcast.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it is long, and to have people be able to at this moment say, "Oh my gosh, what did you think of this part?" And I think it would be fun too. Like, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So in the comments, let me know what you think of the format. If you might want to see something like this in a live streamed as like a podcast that we could interact with the chat. Yeah. Let me know. I'm still working out what we want to do with the monthly movie mini reviews. So there we go. Okay. I'm only about. I think you have one more.
I have one more.
Yeah, I'm only about halfway through my list. I think I've got like 10 more. So
okay.
I watched a lot of movies in July.
But you know what though? Because I haven't done them, I can talk about that which I have seen. Because we're really only, to tell you the truth, I can add.
You can add some of your June movies if you want.
Yeah, I think I have 6 more that I can like go back. I said 4. I hope no one noticed that. I said 4 more, but I meant 6.
4. I was only referring to these fingers, though. Bonus thumbs. Just these fingers.
I was doing 4 more, as in these are the 4.
Yeah. No, I was talking about 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. These don't count these. Yeah, it's a good recovery.
That's right.
As
math, baby.
Yeah, it's August 8th as we record this, and truth be told, I have not watched a single movie this month yet.
I have, but you knew that, so
yeah, I've been. It's just been a hellishly busy week, but Vivo is that musical cartoon that just came out on Netflix a couple days ago. I'd really like to see that because I like musicals and I like cartoons, so maybe that'll be in our.
Let's play again. I know you should probably take a bio break before you do your streams, but there you go.
All right. So thank you, everyone. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.